Okay, this is going to be an audio that's just going to blow your mind. And Douglas has a lot to say about this subject. Before he gets started, though, I thought you might like to see the bigger scene of what's going on here, in the conclave, and how this subject has stirred so many. We see this article come by about this Signal app and about how people in our government are using it. And I kind of laugh it off. I'm going, silly, it's not encrypted the way they are. Why? Because we have been assisting Mike and his team to develop a true encrypted system that doesn't have a back door. So I know now more about encryption than ever before, and I know as a citizen that Signal is compromised and you wouldn't want to use it. So I was watching this story yesterday unfold, and I didn't hear anything from Mike. So I call him up, and Douglas was in the room with me. I said, "Hey, Mike, are you following the Signal story? I think you need to jump in here and weigh in, because if you read their website, it sounds like that they're describing themselves as what my skiff is. They can apply this easily to that kind of technology that Signal does, but truly have an encrypted system, blah, blah, blah." Y'all know the story, cats. Douglas started asking him questions because Douglas is seeing this situation from a whole nother point of view. Remember, Douglas was a cryptologist, and he knows about secure and unsecure lines, and he also knows the military protocols for communication. So he starts asking Mike questions, and Mike says, "Well, look, let's just call Al." So they call Al, and that's when I say, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a 2-hour conversation," and I walk out of the room and start cooking dinner. Douglas then talked at a whole nother level with Al, and he'll tell you who Al is, to really grasp this whole Signal thing that's going on from a technology point of view. Now, this is another day, I come back and Douglas says to me, "Did you see the follow-up story of what's going on at Signal?" He tells me, and of course I got to run out here and tell all you cats. So that having been said, he's going to tell you the details. But Douglas, before you get started, I have one question. After hearing your story, and I think this is the key question, is going to drive home my point at the very end. Who is recommending to Donald Trump's staff and cabinet to use this product Signal? And then let me add that we have found out that the lady that's the head of the NPR is also on the board of Signal. So I want to know who on the Trump team is recommending Signal to be used for communication.
Well, just, I don't know, in the last few weeks, the NSA came out and made a statement that Signal and a number of other these companies that say, including the one that Elon Musk tries to sell on his site, that say that they're secure sites that have polymorphic encryption, that the keys dissolve at the end of the communication, and that it's end to end, and that there's only 2 sets of keys, and all this. That's all not true. I would call it lies. But after talking to one of the greatest cryptologists alive, and this is all you have to do is go out, and if you know who he is, I can't say much about him. I call him Al because of algorithm, right? Dr. Al is what I call him, algorithm. His last name's Go Rhythm. And so, anyway, he's one of the brightest, most intelligent people on the face of the earth. He's the only person that's been able to break all of these codes. So Signal, I called him specifically to ask about this thing, and I only had half the information yesterday when I said, well, I don't know what's happening. It could be one of 2 things, either Jeffrey Goldberg from Atlantic is lying about a second communication on the second day that Hegseth says doesn't exist. And so I said, okay, so what do we got here? Who's lying? Who am I going to believe? Jeffrey Goldberg, who's written he's the head editor of Atlantic, which is just like BuzzFeed. It's going down into the toilet where it belongs, and he's created hoax after hoax against Trump. He's a Trump hater. And by the way, why aren't these called hate crimes against Trump, whether it be justices in the circuit courts or people in the mainstream media? These are hate crimes.
But hate crimes don't apply to white men.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's correct. Yeah, we're the only unprotected group in America is the people who are the majority. We're the majority. Maybe we're not anymore. But anyway, I'm not. I'm an American Indian, and I'm Irish.
Okay.
And come on.
Get on with what you found out today.
Oh, so Hegseth either lied or Jeffrey lied. Looking at the complete text messages that don't dissolve immediately, they dissolve a week later. And the keys don't dissolve because there's always the key that can get into it, and that's called the Federal Bridge Authority Public Key Infrastructure, which is owned and operated by Hillary Clinton and her gang of Chicago mobsters, okay? We've gone into this 1,000 times. There's no such thing. The only thing that is that way that they say that all these things are, which are basically just PR, they're lies, propaganda, that these are secure sites. They're not secure sites at all. Neither is the one that I was looking at yesterday called Private Internet Access. So they're going to tell all these different companies now are advertising what Michael McKibben and this cryptologist genius and a bunch of other people that they're working with created it's called MySkiff. It's a messenger system. But now they're amping it so it can now be email. So soon they'll have the capacity to do all that. But again, and this one, first off, Hegseth, you're an idiot. Any private first class that signed a security agreement, which all of you who were on that text message signed, including Jeffrey Goldberg, he couldn't have even got into what I said I assumed was the principal committee yesterday, which can be called by Waltz, Mike Waltz. So Mike Waltz now admits he did call it, and he now admits that he did tell the secretary to allow Jeffrey Goldberg to come into this meeting. So first off, this was not a scheduled with minutes that Trump knew about. He admitted he didn't know this meeting or this talk was going on the text, but he did later say that he certainly knew that it was an approved system. But yes, a few weeks ago, the NSA, probably through the British, started saying it wasn't secure. Well, all systems are insecure. There's nobody can give you any secure communication except for MySkiff right now, period. And I know this because I've read the NSA papers on it. I've read the position of the cryptologist, for the cyber security groups and all these things, and he is the head guy leading all of that in the whole world.
You just spoke to him for 2 hours yesterday about this detail.
2 hours in great detail, and I made sure that I went back and say, okay, he assumed I understood some of the things he was saying. He's far beyond anybody else on the earth in this. There's literally maybe 10, maybe 15 people in the world could understand what he's talking about. Polymorphic encryption that is done in a way that the backdoor that is in every single social media system that was stolen from, of course, Michael McKibben and Leader Technologies by the IBM Eclipse Foundation. We have told you this again and again, and recently we've done videos on how these companies are bragging that they have this secure system. No, they don't. Now, this is all a preface for saying, do we know the second day communications on that text thread are true? We don't know that. But I'll tell you what Goldberg has released, and when he released it, it was a national security breach. And no matter what, whether he thought he was on the principal committee or whether he thought he was on National Security Council, which he can't be because he's the press. Hello, it was not a National Security Council meeting. Did it have national security components to it? Only if we believe the second day of Goldberg. Now, on the first day of what Goldberg released, it proved that J.D. Vance is an idiot, that he thinks that he's greater than the president. He's correcting the president's moves, but he's an idiot and doesn't know that when he signed a security agreement that you cannot speak about anything even a confidential level, and these were more than confidential level, giving the times that the planes would take off to go to bomb the Houthi in Yemen. Okay, those planes could have been shot out of the air because of that. That's insanity. Any private first class with a top secret security clearance, which they have to do this stuff, would be in jail now for doing that. Every person, all 16 people, including Jeffrey Goldberg, would be in jail now. And it doesn't matter that Goldberg released it after the fact. He released it knowing that he had signed at least a non-disclosure agreement to get into the committee or to get into the National Security Council, and he can't get into the National Security Council. So all the people involved are stupider than I even have words for even day one. If they were involved in day two and that's real, they should all be fired.
Well, I always had my concern about Mike Walls from the little bit I saw on him. And then when you say that he's the one that would have to call the meeting, then my suspicions are confirmed. He is handled by the British. And that meeting and the use of Signal, which has also got British ties, is that they want the British to know what their moves are. So these are clearly domestic enemies against the United States. They are not just fired, court-martialed, or whatever.
Well, they come under the Uniform Code of Military Justice because these are military actions. And when you enter into the National Security Council, which used to be dominated by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, military people, okay, how come this conversation was happening anywhere outside of the President's Situation Room, which is the most ultimate secure SCIF in America? Why? Why? That's insane. Anybody should know that has anything to do with the military, especially anything sensitive. These are people's lives on the line. You don't play with that. Now, first off, the National Security Council can only be convened by certain orders that you can look in the executive order and see. It's very specific. There's no provision there for having wireless communications with a hodgepodge, willy-nilly, topsy-turvy, let's text and send stupid emojis to each other. I mean, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. Next to everything the demon rats do when they're in the White House, which goes into child pedophilia. I mean, remember, George H.W. Bush was bringing in children from the boys' place out there in Iowa and in Indiana to molest them. And all the guys in Congress who were the pedophiles, they went to the White House to do it. Okay? This is disgusting what happens in our country. But the point is, this is just stupid upon stupid if it really happened. Now, if it didn't happen, and all we have to do is check to see what time the bombs dropped, because Hegseth told people on his text message 2 hours and 1 minute ahead of time when they were launched. And they were probably launched from an aircraft carrier, and these weren't drones.
Wait a minute.
Atlantic's going down. This is their last-ditch attempt of their chief editor to try to get, their name to come up in Watch Us, like every rag that's in Britain. Any rag you read from Britain, the Sun, the Daily Mail, any of that's all garbage. And all the Brits know it's garbage. It's like reading Esquire. No one believes any of that stuff, but hey, what? They make decisions on it all the time. It's unbelievable the way that the British have convinced people that propaganda is truth, and now that propaganda is false, but it doesn't matter. We're still going to do it. But anyway, that's what just happened. Now, bombing the Yemenis. Don't forget that the Houthi are given those missiles by Iran, by their basically the army of Iran, which got them from who? Biden, when he left them in Afghanistan. We know that because they bought them. And then they sent them to Lebanon, and they were used to bomb Israel, and they were sent to Gaza Strip, and they were sent to Yemen. That's why a couple days after, some little bit after, we bomb Yemen. What happens? Yemen sends one of their last long-distance missiles to try to blow up Israel. Of course, Israel shoots it out of the air because so far, to my count, Israel has shot out of the air about 9,999 of the 10,000 missiles shot at them. That's good. That's good shooting. Anyway, the point is, those are not Yemenis. And remember, there's a civil war in Yemen. And remember who started the civil war? The CIA and Obama. And remember that Yemen is in a civil war because Obama mercilessly bombed them and killed so many civilians. It's ridiculous, and put, as I've said, in the 7 countries he bombed, Yemen was one of them. 38 million people into refugee status, and they started moving out of their country because there was nothing left, because Obama dropped hundreds of thousands of bombs. No one knows how many bombs he dropped. So Trump, in his first act, did not carry it out, or if he did, then Hegseth must have walked out of the Situation Room, because you're supposed to be in the Situation Room watching this up to the second that you do it. These are people's lives you're blowing up, civilians included, and all kinds of structures and infrastructures. And for J.D. Vance to say, oh, let's not hurt the Saudi Arabian pipelines. You are or we're tired of bailing out the EU so that this shipping lane can stay open. Are you out of your mind? These are the most immature, preschool, pathetic diplomatic statements. I don't care if they were said when you were drunk, Hegseth, in a terrible bar with a bunch of whores. That might be even worse. But this is even worse because you broadcast it to the world. Now, did the British sneak in the back door to get what was said on the second day and then say that it was part of the same thread? I don't know. All those people who testified before Congress, Kelsey Gabbard and John Ratcliffe and Kash Patel, who looked like a deer in headlights. I don't know nothing. So did something happen? I don't know nothing. He's one of the most. I said it when Trump put them in these positions. Ratcliffe already stabbed him in the back multiple times. Why would he put him in such a powerful position as the head of the CIA, which is who killed John F. Kennedy? We now know because of the Kennedy papers. And Michael McKibben and his staff writers releasing the biggest bomb, truth bomb you could ever imagine. It goes back to the Pilgrims. It's the British through the Australians and through all their CIA fake agencies and fake corporations.
And remember, it was the Australians that were pitching a fit about the JFK files being released the last time that President Trump wanted to do that. Remember that?
Yes.
It was the Australians.
And it was the same Australian intelligence agency that started the Crossfire Hurricane officially when an agent was told at a bar something that then became the whole genesis of the British attack on a sitting president because they don't like him. He didn't go for him. Remember, it is now out there, and it's being said that in the letter that Starmer gave Trump from King Fatfingers, that there was an invitation to become an associate member of the Commonwealth. That is a lie. Well, why would they do that? In the first administration, they already did that to Trump, and Trump told him to go hang it up. He's a Scottish Highlander, and he's going to kick their ass. They're going to come along with him. He's not going to come along with them. That's what he told them. That's why they went after him. 4 years of warfare, hate, attack. These are hate crimes. All of these 17 now, and I love it, the new lady, what is it, Chioma Chukwu, who heads the American Oversight, 30 lawyers who are only second in line to the ACLU for bringing these 17, now I think 18 federal court decisions and mostly injunctions against the President of the United States. You can't put an injunction against the President of the United States. It's stupid. Especially if he's working within the federal government in his own agencies, which he's doing. So shut the heck up, you idiots. But it's okay. They're all going to get fired. We've given them the thing, and now we've seen that everything we seem to be saying happens to be either aligned with them by coincidence or they're listening to us. So what's happening now? Fire Hegseth. And get rid of Waltz and basically you need to reevaluate who you put in all those positions. We told you as you did it that you were making mistakes on a number of them. Kash Patel's an idiot. That's why you had to put Bongino in there. Now Bongino comes out in the only way he knows and makes a internet announcement of how tough he's going to get on the people there. Oh yeah, and what'd they do? They caught one leaker. One leaker. And who was he? He was a guy out screaming in the front of the Pentagon. I mean, it was really hard to find him, okay? I mean, these guys are complete idiots. They can't find well, I won't use the common Missouri phrase for this, but they can't find their head to put their hat on. Let me put it that way. Okay, so these guys, John Ratcliffe, he's already stabbed you in the back. How many times do you have to be stabbed in the back? Walz, I always thought he was an idiot. I don't know. Hegseth looks like a honey badger.
Oh, yeah.
He's got this slanted Ahrimanic Luciferic head that looks like he's going to get revenge on somebody.
But in his case, it doesn't matter what he looks like. We watched his deeds, and these are what's not good for us, okay? They all got to go. How about J.D. Vance?
Well, J.D. Vance, Trump already outed him in the first weeks of being president, saying he's never going to be the president. Okay, that's correct. Because why? Trump intends to extend his 4 years into 8, and then after that to make an exception for another 4. Why? That's what all dictators do. And now he's really getting the taste of being, these other world dictators, they don't do a very good job. Look how low they had to sink to get Zelensky. Okay? I mean, these dictators are pathetic.
Okay, well, everybody's submitting their ideas on how to streamline government and everything, and I've got an idea. And, okay, tongue in cheek, you could just get rid of a lot of these cabinet members that we have outed as being no good, and let us bring the conclave in. We're a small group. We seem to be more active than anybody in government, and certainly better than your 17 intelligence agencies.
Well, I just realized I thought I was just going to get all mad at Hegseth, but now I'm mad at the whole group. Let's remember what has just happened. It was just announced that the Treasury, for the first time in 30 years, will actually have a computer that tracks their checks. They'll actually have books. They'll actually have a budget. They'll have budget lines, and checks will be aligned with the budget line. Holy moly. Guess what? I'm sorry to have to say this, but myself and a couple friends could come in, and with Super Grok 3, we could have done the same thing. Because whatever system they're using, the only problem is going to be how long it takes to empty their system into Grok 3. Okay, and then you ask Grok 3 some questions, and then you say, now give us a model. We can set this up on standard bookkeeping templates. And boom, 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 boom. Literally in a matter of minutes, it's done. Okay? Why? Because it's an amazing system. Where did he get it? DeepSeek. He stole it from the open AI research and open source research in China. We know that. And where did they get it? Well, they got it from Microsoft in its 3 earlier versions. So I found this out from the super brain yesterday, but he's a super heart too. So I found out a lot of things that I have been speculating on, and I only get to talk to some of the people in the conclave on rare occasions because literally you can guarantee their phones are bugged. I mean, anyone would know that. Okay, do you think I go onto an open wireless conversation on a phone in any way, no matter what the PR and the stupid propaganda says that it's secure, and believe that it's secure? No. Any system with the back door can be breached so easily that Hillary Clinton can do it on her computer in her bathroom, which is also where her server probably still is. So the largest national security debacle in American history is not Chatgate. No. And it's not Signalgate. No. It's Hillary-gate. Hillary gave everybody everything that was going on, not only the State Department, but the Department of Defense, everything to the whole world the whole time. And she sold it. She got money for it. And then you'd call this? No, what this is sheer stupidity. I'm sorry, there's no other words for it. If the second-day messages from Hegseth are true, Hegseth comes out and says he did not do those second-day messages. And there were no war plans in any of the first day that Goldberg released. Well, that's true. So all of them would be telling the truth if all they knew was that. But how would they be on any chat with the members of the National Security Council or the National Security Council subset called the Principals Committee? How could they be in a chat with them and not believe that the British are listening in? You think Hillary doesn't sell her keys every year to the Brits for billions of dollars? Well, then you're just naive. The Brits have the way in the back door to everything here in America. They first off, we give it to them because they do so much of our military contracting, especially the Navy, which is where most of this stuff comes from anyway. So, Hegseth, you need to get clear. Either you and all your people lied in public, or you need to prove you didn't, because Goldberg put out a day 2, and your messages there condemn you. And I would have to say that just like with Elon Musk, Tyler can confirm this. Every time I see Elon Musk, what do I say? He needs to stop doing so many drugs. And now it's come out he's like the number 1 druggie in the world. And he has a whole religion called Dark Enlightenment, which is all worships drugs, particularly pharmaceutical. And the very symbol he wears on his hat and his shirts is the one for
Dark MAGA. He's Dark MAGA.
Oh, he's Dark MAGA, but on his shirt he wear the RX with N RX, which means narcotic pharmaceutical drugs. Just look it up. His teacher studied with Nick Land, and Nick Land was addicted to amphetamines until it ruined his life and every job he ever had. And he was a nutcase. He might as well have just been taking acid and lying down and looking up and making stuff up. But anyway, so we're talking about some nutcases around Trump, and it doesn't matter. I explained to you from the beginning. Not a one of them has any power. Period. Now, in these messages, if they were constructed by someone else as an evil plot to go after Hegseth, they very clearly put in there, with the right timing, that Trump had given the go-ahead, the green. And he announced to all the people, 16 of them, on his text message, Trump had given the green. Okay, but wait, he's telling us when they're going to launch ahead of time, but he's not in the Situation Room. Does that make any sense to anybody in the whole world? Do you think any president launches drones or any other attack where he's using planes that cost more than some states make in the whole year, and he's not in the Situation Room, completely protected with all the right people, with all of his information? That's just plain old stupid.
Or maybe Trump is in the Situation Room with the real group that is running America right now through this war with Great Britain.
Well, Hegseth now basically represents the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and also the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who would usually be in the Situation Room for any attack, especially involving the Navy, the Air Force, and who else knows for support on the ground. Plus, just when you send in fighter planes, you better be very careful when you can just send in drones. I mean, none of this makes much sense to me. So whoever is conducting this one is not the person writing his executive orders, which are pure genius. This botched military nonsense, which then they didn't even hit the site that had their largest ICBM there, that was going to launch towards Israel immediately afterwards. So it's to prove they missed the sites. This is the Houthi. There's like what? 2,000 to 5,000 members, period. And they are the rebel group, and they only control 3 small cities, and they always hide in the same places. Yes, there will be women and children there. So what are you doing sending in airstrikes? You sound like Hillary Clinton. No, you have to go in and kill these people one at a time and confirm it. And, I just love it when they always say what the Houthi says, how many died. And you're going to believe that? That's like the Russians telling you how many of the Ukrainians killed them and how many of the Ukrainians are dead. No, they're all lies in war. If you believe anything you hear from a war zone that you didn't see with your own eyes, then you're probably being fooled.
I want you to bottom line this next, but I will go back to my original question: who recommended Signal for form of communication? And the reason I would ask that President Trump think about that is because whoever did would have full well know that it was a vehicle for relaying information that could be picked up by the British. So that's why that's important. And I'm not talking about an agency recommending it. I'm talking about a specific person who recommended they use it.
Wait, I hear Michael McKibben's name in the ethers. Mike, would you get your miners to figure out who owns Signal? What we did yesterday is Michael and I went in to the Signal sites and everything we could find, and we looked at the systems they were using. Then we called up the genius, and the genius told us that he's broken all those systems. Long time ago, years and years ago, and laughing at it. Anybody who says that AES is secure doesn't know my paper of this year.
Have you read all 60 of my white papers yet?
Yeah, so that's what he was saying. Yeah, have you read all 64 of my peer-reviewed white papers considered to be the cutting edge of cryptology? And I'm going, I read the ones you gave me, and I didn't understand most of them, but I know you're right. Because why? He can do it. I don't care about people who can talk about it. I care about people who can do it. Anyway, he was laughing at that, and so basically, as I'm saying, a couple weeks ago, which make me think it was a British setup, because then they could say, the NSA told you not to use Signal. What is the White House saying? They never told us that. What is Britain saying through Sun and Daily Mail? Oh, no, the NSA told you don't use Signal, and you still did. Okay, first off, we don't even know what kind of meeting it was. But second off, if the second day is true, then they're all guilty. If any of them saw that and didn't reprimand him or say, I don't care if you think this is a secure line, to say those types of things belongs only in one place. And you better not even refer to the place, which I did, so I'm going to get in trouble here. But anyway, so that's the way that it works. And the way that this is working shows that it's not working. So in this case, the demon rat attack against the Republicans, well, did the Republicans have to do the same thing twice? What did they do? And by the way, who did they send in on the first administration attack and send in on this second administration attack? What is her name? It starts with an M.
Mary McCord.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mary McCord needs to be fired today.
Yeah,
if you follow us, fire her today. If you don't think you have due cause to fire her, then you are silly.
But Mary McCord doesn't work for the government right now. She's off on doing her thing.
Is she private now?
Yeah,
she's gone through every agency I know of.
Right, she's on the sidelines right now. But anyway, she's still a prosecutor, and that would still fall under the EO that was recently signed about these vexatious litigators.
It's over the last 8 years.
Well, yeah.
She's the most guilty.
Oh, yes. Well, there was a time where she was working for the government doing all of this.
Yeah, so but fire her over that.
Well, whatever way. Okay, we're doing the best we can, President Trump, to follow you, but I sometimes get a little behind and get out there crazy with my ideas. So we'll just listen to what Douglas has to say.
Disbar her and pull her from any further actions because of her previous actions. It's as simple as that. And so in the first time, Mary McCord set up General Flynn.
Yeah.
Now, I want to underline this. Now, if there's any generals out there that disagree with this, just call me up. And I'll record you and what you have to say, and I'll put it out for equal time. Because I don't know a general that isn't a murderer. And I don't know a general I would trust. And I don't know a general that's smart. So they set up General Flynn to start talking about doing backdoor deals with Russia on the phone, a non-secure line, before he was even in position and Trump was in office. Okay? He had been elected, but they were just getting prepared to go in. So Mary McCord set that up. So Mary McCord was the person they called in to testify against Tulsi Gabbard and others that demanding that they need to do this and that. And it's like, who are you that you come in and make demands all because of this? And then after she testified, day 2 came out from Jeffrey Goldberg. Well, why didn't day 2 come out on day 1? When he released it to everybody, why didn't he show both days? Why did he get the whole world's attention and then send out this damnable text message, which we don't know if it's authentic? Hegseth says it isn't. And Mary McCord says that everyone who wants to even investigate this needs to recuse themselves because they were on the call. How clever is that? Everyone in the all the heads of the intelligence groups need to, except the mean, nasty Warhawks and stuff, need to recuse themselves from looking into whether or not Jeffrey Goldberg told the truth. Now, has Jeffrey Goldberg been called before the Senate or the House? No. Has he been taken in by the FBI and questioned? Not that I know of. So what are we talking about here? Is this just another stupid hoax? I really don't know.
But while this is going on, lawfare's working because nobody's getting captured and sent to Gitmo.
Oh, that's for sure. Because why? Because the people in office say they did nothing wrong, and they're not even going to answer any more questions after that. And they all agreed they did nothing wrong. There was nothing that was national security, nothing of even confidential secret. Well, on the first day, no, it was just stupid. Second day, now, only, I think, I should look at it again. I believe only J.D. Vance answered Hegseth on the second day, which makes me very suspect maybe there were a couple people who answered, but it wasn't all the people who were supposed to be on that line. And by the way, I was in the military. You don't celebrate killing people. Okay? You don't high five someone for just blowing up some women and children, even if you did get your target. And you make sure that on the ground and in all ways you have already prepared for your attack. And in many cases, as we saw in the last administrations for years, except for Trump, they telegraphed the terrorists they were coming. In every case I know, including Obama's last day of office, what did he do when he was supposed to say goodbye? He used his time at the airport to say, "You Houthis, right now you should have the bombs, or soon you'll have the bombs dropping on your head as my last," and he bragged about his last act was to bomb the Houthis in Yemen, and if I'm not mistaken, it was before he bombed them. But he had been bombing them, so it's not like that. But the point is that he did the same thing. He didn't get blamed. And every time we dropped leaflets in the last 20 years. We dropped leaflets on the people we're going to bomb. Okay? And so this isn't war. This is theater. And so look at Gaza. And now you see a uprising in Gaza. Why? Because they lured them back into Gaza. Of course they're going to have an uprising when the IDF starts bombing them again. What did you expect to happen? Why did he lure them back? Because Egypt doesn't want them. Jordan doesn't want them. So he this is Bibi Netanyahu, lured them back into Gaza and started bombing them. This is the reality of the dictators in our world right now. And the stupidity is just beyond my imagination. But with technology, I just want to underline some things. Okay, you want a little woo, hun? Here's the woo. There's no quantum computers. You will need between 1 million and 5 million qubits to make the first quantum computer. And when you do, cooling it in between its microseconds of activity will take so much computing power it isn't even conceivable in our time.
No, but they're going to do all this with plasma, baby.
The Chinese, every day, you hear me complain about this. What did Chinese do yesterday? Last week the Chinese invented a car battery that lasts forever and can go to Mars and, fly. And it's just like, Aladdin's lamp. And, oh, my gosh, it's just the magic rug of Atlanta. This is just insane what China says every day. So I asked the huge brain, Mr. Algorithm, do they have that? And he laughed, and he just kept laughing, and he kept laughing, and he kept laughing. And same thing with quantum computers. He goes, okay, do you really want to have this conversation? And that's the reason it was, 2-3 hour conversation, because he explained it in detail so I would get it maybe for once, because I'm kind of dense. And he explained these things, and I'm going, oh, so let me just make sure I got this. Those are all lies. He just kept laughing. Yes, of course they're lies. This is the guy who works with the NSA. He works with In-Q-Tel. He works with DARPA. He's beyond DARPA. He doesn't cave in to DARPA or anybody else. He does cryptology, and he's 15 years ahead of anybody else, and he can tell you right now that in 15 years there might be a computer that has, and he went into all the math and the statistics, 6 million qubits. And if there was something that was beyond what we know as matter, and the only thing beyond matter we know of is plasma, so I tried to explain to him some of these new chips, and he laughed at the Microsoft chip, Mara, whatever it's called. I'll get you the right name so you don't think I'm making this up. Majorana. The Majorana chip, complete fake, absolute 100%, that they can fit 1 million qubits onto one chip, and then they won't tell you the technology. And so I looked it up and snuck in the back door and found out it's an electrostatic technology, which I explained to these two of the most brilliant people on the earth yesterday, and they laughed. They said, and they pointed out, like, they just started laughing. They couldn't stop laughing to point out how that absolutely could not work. Ever. Not now, not ever. And so I'm basically saying, okay, what about artificial intelligence? Have you seen Super Grok 3 and these kind of things? And he says, are you kidding? I wrote those papers back, and then way back, I don't even remember what he was saying, in the 60s or something. He says, look at my paper in maybe 76 on large language models and the relationship to semantics and relationship to language. The name of the article, which is, historic, was so long I couldn't even remember it. And then he explains, he goes, that's nothing. Those are subsets. He said, oh, so I'm right? And I loved bringing it to the other genius on the line. Not me, but one of the other two geniuses. I'm right. It's nothing but subroutines. And Al said, exactly, but we call it subsets. And then he went into this technology, an explanation I tried to follow it, but it's like studying plasma. It takes you so far out in the atmosphere, you don't know if you're going to come back. But anyway, so folks, there's no quantum computers. There never will be. All those promises and threats, BS. Plasma reactors, the Chinese have it, nonsense. The Italians have it, nonsense. The little boys who are 12 and 14 years old have it, yeah. Do we know a way to get plasma reactions out of a lawnmower or any car? Yes. Why aren't they using it? It would destroy the rat lines of the people who make money off of oil. And look what happened, internal combustion engines are here, and they're going to be here for a while. And he also was explaining carbon and stuff like this, because I'd ask him all these questions, and we've seen evidence just in the last few weeks. Not only have we seen absolute pure insanity, we've seen absolute pure inspiration, like nothing I've ever seen before. Science acknowledged. And now this is really shocking. Ben Davidson pointed this out on Space Watch or whatever it's called, Suspicious Observers, and he pointed out that finally, and this is the best news I've heard in a long time, their imagination that CO2 affects the higher atmospheres is complete nonsense. CO2 goes down, not up. I've said this all along. It goes into the earth, it goes into the ocean. You cannot produce enough CO2, man-made or otherwise, to harm the earth. That's just stupid. But what this article does, and I went and looked at the research and some other research, and it points out that they're now really studying the higher atmospheres, the thermosphere, that's what they're interested in, and the exosphere. And they're talking about things that we just released in the book on plasma. So this is a reality, and it's going to be obviously become more of a reality. And as Rudolf Steiner said, the first science that will come to understand spiritual science will be astronomy. So keep looking up, folks, and have faith that when you're looking up, something's looking back.